Hello, everyone. I'm Dr. Greg Sloop, and it's time for Live at 5 on this Monday, August 19th, 2024. Hope you're having a absolutely stellar day. We are continuing our look at famous stories, well-known stories from the Old Testament and passages. We are up to Exodus chapter 16. And today we're looking at the story of the manna or bread from heaven. Great story of God's provision and the miraculous nature of his provision at times. Let's start. It's a lengthy chapter, but we're going to try to get through it all today. Verse 1 of chapter 16 starts, "And they journeyed from Elim, and all the congregation of the children of Israel came to the wilderness of Sin, which is between Elim and Sinai, on the 15th day of the second month after they departed from the land of Egypt. Then the whole congregation of the children of Israel complained against Moses and Aaron in the wilderness. And the children of Israel said to them, Oh, that we had died by the hand of the Lord in the land of Egypt, when we sat by the pots of meat, and when we ate bread to the full. For you have brought us out into this wilderness to kill this whole assembly with hunger." As a pastor, sometimes I hear this kind of complaining among people that have everything. I mean, they have so much, they're so blessed, and yet they want to complain about not having some things when they have so many things. I think it's important for us in this situation to remember that no matter what you think you don't have, if you'll stop long enough to think about what you do have, you won't complain as much. That's just a little lesson for life today that I think is interesting. Verse 4 continues, though, with what the Lord told Moses in response. The Lord said to Moses, "Behold, I will rain bread from heaven for you. And the people shall go out and gather a certain quota, the portion of a day in its day, every day, that I may test them, whether they will walk in my law or not. And it shall be on the sixth day that they shall prepare what they bring in, and it shall be twice as much as they gather daily." Sixth day, obviously, because the next day is the Sabbath, and they don't work on the Sabbath. Then Moses and Aaron said to all the children of Israel, "At evening you shall know that the Lord has brought you out of the land of Egypt. And in the morning you shall see the glory of the Lord, for he hears your complaints against the Lord. But what are we that you complain against us?" Also Moses said, "This shall be seen when the Lord gives you meat to eat in the evening, and in the morning bread to the full. For the Lord hears your complaints which you make against him. And what are we? Your complaints are not against us, but against the Lord." Then Moses spoke to Aaron, "Say to all the congregation of the children of Israel, Come near before the Lord, for he has heard your complaints." Now it came to pass, as Aaron spoke to the whole congregation of the children of Israel, that they looked toward the wilderness, and behold, the glory of the Lord appeared in a cloud. What a great, awesome thing that must have been. And the Lord spoke to Moses, saying, "I have heard the complaints of the children of Israel. Speak to them, saying, At twilight you shall eat meat, and in the morning you shall be filled with bread, and you shall know that I am the Lord your God." God said, "I'm going to give you everything you're asking for. I'm going to give you meat in the evening. I'm going to give you bread in the morning." Let's see what it says here in verse 13. "So it was that quails came up at evening and covered the camp. And in the morning the dew lay all around the camp. And when the layer of dew lifted, there on the surface of the wilderness was a small round substance, as fine as frost on the ground. So when the children of Israel saw it, they said to one another, What is it? For they did not know what it was. And Moses said to them, This is the bread which the Lord has given you to eat. This is the thing which the Lord has commanded. Let every man gather it, according to each one's need, 1 omer for each person, according to the number of persons. Let every man take for those who are in his tent." So God says, "I'm going to give you enough. I'm not going to overload you. I'm going to give you enough." And we go out and we get what we need for that day. Don't take any extra. Don't take any less. Go out and take what you need and trust God that there'll be more there for the next day. Verse 17. Then the children of Israel did so and gathered, some more, some less. So when they measured it by omers, he who gathered much had nothing left over, and he who gathered little had no lack. Every man had gathered according to each one's need. And Moses said, let no one leave any of it till morning. Notwithstanding, they did not heed Moses. They didn't listen to him. But some of them left part of it until morning, and it bred worms and stank. And Moses was angry with them. So they gathered it every morning, every man according to his need. And when the sun became hot, it melted. God gave them enough. He gave them what they needed. And they were able to eat and feed their families every day with that bread. And so it was on the sixth day that they gathered twice as much bread, 2 omers for each one. And all the rulers of the congregation came and told Moses. Then he said to them, this is what the Lord has said. Tomorrow is a Sabbath rest, a holy Sabbath to the Lord. Bake what you will bake today and boil what you will boil. Lay up for yourselves all that remains to be kept until morning. So they laid it up till morning as Moses commanded, and it did not stink, nor were there any worms in it. Then Moses said, eat that today, for today is a Sabbath to the Lord. Today you will not find it in the field. 6 days you shall gather it, but on the seventh day, the Sabbath, there will be none. Now it happened that some of the people went on the Sabbath day or the seventh day to gather, but they found none. God doesn't lie. God is not a man that he should lie. And the Lord said to Moses, how long do you refuse to keep my commandments and my laws? See, for the Lord has given you the Sabbath. Therefore, he gives you on the sixth day bread for 2 days. Let every man remain in his place. Let no man go out of his place on the seventh day. So the people rested on the seventh day. And the house of Israel called its name manna. Manna literally means what? Like, what is this? And it was like white coriander seed, and the taste of it was like wafers made with honey. Boy, that sounds good to me. I could handle some wafers made with honey. Then Moses said, this is the thing which the Lord has commanded. Fill an omer with it to be kept for your generations, that they may see the bread with which I fed you in the wilderness when I brought you out of the land of Egypt. And Moses said to Aaron, take a pot and put an omer of manna in it, and lay it up before the Lord to be kept for your generations. As the Lord commanded Moses, so Aaron laid it up before the testimony, before the ark, to be kept. And the children of Israel ate manna 40 years until they came to an inhabited land. They ate manna until they came to the border of the land of Canaan. Now an omer is 1/10 of an ephah. I haven't looked up these measurements. I should have. Maybe I can find it real quick for you while I'm talking and moving on toward the end of this. Um, I think that this is a great lesson here in trusting God. It is a great lesson in trusting God. Okay, it says it's 1/10 of an ephah, and an ephah is about 6 U.S. gallons, about 10 times the size of an omer. So it would be about 2/3 of a gallon is what an omer would be, about 2/3 of a gallon, about this much, I guess, if you put it together, about this much, 2/3 of a gallon. How many pounds is an ephah of barley? How much is 1 ephah? All those questions are answered. It is about a bushel. An ephah is about a bushel. So the omer is 1/10 of a bushel. If you know anything about those measurements, and everybody knows what a gallon looks like, you see a gallon of milk. But what we understand here is that God gave them just enough they could eat on it all day. They could crunch it up, they could bake it, they could make wafers from it, they could eat it straight. It was a great thing. They could have some variety with it. Quails came in and covered the ground every night. Man, God created a bunch of quails and had them come to the camp of Israel so they could catch the quail, they could kill them, they could defeather them, they could cook them and have meat every night. How in the world, um, how in the world can anybody not be happy with God feeding them like that? They complained beforehand. He showed them, I am God, I will supply the need. We need to trust God and not complain. We just need to simply believe. Call on him when you have a need, but do it in faith. Don't do it in aggravation or frustration. Don't do it as if you are disappointed, because God never disappoints. Be thankful with what you have and trust God for what you need. And that's the word for today. Good to see Richard Britt. I saw you said something about that. That's your sermon Sunday. Love what you have, not what you had. Sharon Noblet, Richard Britt, uh, Raven Opp, Andres. Good to have all of you with us today. It's always a pleasure to have folks watch us, whether it's live at 5 or others some other time during the day or night. We're just glad you're here each and every day to be with us, that you are. Spend some time with God every day in the Word of God and prayer. It's the absolute best thing you can do all day, and it will change your life and increase your joy and give you the outlook to be able to face whatever comes your way during the day. Amen. Please know we love you and we're praying for you, and I look forward to seeing each of you again tomorrow.